United States submarine base at Key West, Florida. A dispatch that quoted President Truman's press secretary, Charles Ross, as saying that President Truman has no knowledge of any secret project by this government that would give substance to the existence of such objects. Ross also said that both the Air Force and the Navy deny that such objects exist.
Jesus fucking Christ, man. I can't catch a break with him.
Craig is like so cruel, and I don't understand. Like, if you post Craig correctly, it doesn't appear, I feel. But if you post it incorrectly, then you see the actual text pop up.
Look that's the same ass thing. That's the same ass fucking thing, and he joined on the second time. Whatever, Craig.
Whatever, indeed.
Hey, what's up? My name's Noelle, and I am the fact that peanut butter and jelly sandwiches make you fat.
Ooh, and I'm Chelsea. I'm that one sliver of sunburn on your hip when you don't get your entire leg with sunscreen.
That is, I also want to say shout outs, speaking of sunscreen, speaking of sunburn, shout outs to my fucking mother who decided to, and
Jesus.
I don't,
yeah.
I've learned based off of putting this out into the ether that is the internet, that this is everyone's parent. That this is everyone's fucking parent. That you're like, I was reaching out to my mom because I was going to do like a few days in LA again here shortly. And I was like, hey, I know you don't work at Intermountain anymore. Is there any way that I could fly you out and you could stay with my dogs? And she goes, as casual as the day is long, goes, oh yeah, what are the dates? Your dad has skin cancer. Let me look up flights. I was
like, ma'am?
What? Way to bury the fucking lead. And I was like, excuse me? And she's like, yeah, it's no big deal. I mean, like, he, got a thing checked. He's got a surgery on the 29th, but like, not a big deal. Anyway, what are the dates? And I'm like, hello? And then someone online was like, oh my God, same thing. I text my mom and was like, hey, can I come over and borrow your, use your washer? And she goes, yeah, sure. What day? I'm getting back surgery this week. Hello?
Jesus.
Hello? And then Omar, the photographer, messaged me and he was like, this literally just happened to me last week. My mom goes, hey, would you be able to house sit just for 24 hours? I have someone else the rest of the days. She's like, yeah, sure. Why? What's up? When are you going to be gone? And she goes, oh, your cousin died. We're flying out. And he goes, what? And you weren't going to tell me? And she goes, I'm telling you right now. Girl!
Oh my God.
Girl, it's either one of those two things. It's like my mom didn't tell me because she was like, I didn't want you to worry. And I'm like, well, bitch, what are we doing now? Look at both of us with clown paint on our face. Or
now we're both dumb.
I'm telling you right now, as they're telling you, what is the fucking problem with everybody? Hello?
Jeez.
Shout out to that. Shout out to, I probably wouldn't have known unless I would have asked my mother to come fly out for a weekend. Right. So shouts out to that. Love that for you. Love healthy communication. It's key. Frankly, it's key. And with that, I also say, wear sunscreen. Wear a moisturizing SPF every single day, even if you're not in the sun, just on your face. Do that. We have completely diminished our ozone layer, baby. It's you and the sun. So put something in between it. Get an SPF moisturizer. There are a bunch of great ones out there. But that's also why my mom is salty, because when I kept hounding her about why she didn't tell me that my dad had skin cancer, she goes, oh, well, I just tell him every day to wear sunscreen and he doesn't. So, look where we are.
Yeah, your mom's doing like an I told you so. The cancer on your father's face.
Mm-hmm.
That's classic Amy. I hope she hangs out with me when she comes here. I would like to go to a nice brunch with Amy.
You should. You absolutely should. If she comes out, for sure, because I haven't been able to get past that little hiccup in the conversation to really iron out the details. Because now I'm like, excuse me, what?
That's goop worthy. It's like a goop.
I know.
It's an and I oop.
Really got me there. Really,
classic
I love the
Amy.
Sandwich. I know, classic.
I don't want to. I know your mother loves your father, but if one of the dogs had cancer, you would have been notified by a Candygram. She would have hired a Skyrider. She would have already been at your house. She would
Yeah.
have just straight kicked the fucking door down.
Yeah.
And she already
The
would have
world would have
invested.
known.
Yeah, the world would have known.
Yeah. It's true.
I
It's
like
true.
her style.
And you know what? Come to your own conclusions from that. But yeah, we absolutely. It's incredible. So anyway, speaking of witches, we're learning today.
Learning. I have never fucking heard of this before.
Nor have I.
I no idea. If someone were like Bridget Cleary, but now we're going to be experts. So
Yeah. I
let's
can't wait.
fucking dive
The only
into
thing
it.
I know about this is that, like, the United States obviously wasn't the only place to go through a witch hunt moment, period, era, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
I know that. That's the base of what I know. And I also know that there was like a big witch hunt issue in England, which is kind of where we got all of our tried and true torture techniques.
Right.
So I like that is what I know. What I did not know, and maybe it's because of like as we apparently learned, snakes and potatoes took over everything I know about Ireland.
Right. Yes, the snakes of St. Patrick's and the
Yep.
potatoes of the Great Famine.
Yes.
But much like most women's plights, also shitty husbands. Or good
Yeah.
husbands. We're actually going to decide at the end of this if he was doing the right thing or not.
It's tough because even like, what is it, Giles Corey, the most like famous shitty turned good husband of the Salem witch trials, got his shit involved because he was being a bastard. And then he was like, oh my God, JK, my B. And then he was like, more weight, kill me with the rocks. I refuse to turn on my wife. That was a bad call. What I did in the beginning, I will now repent with my life to her.
Right. This guy did a different thing.
Less cool. Less cool?
Or more cool.
Okay.
So we're about to dive into it. So let's learn some history. Much like the United States, Ireland went through its own plight of witch hunts. The height of deaths during this time was between 1590 and 1661, where around 1,500 men and women were executed of witchcraft.
So it's almost like, whoa, okay, that's a lot.
It's a lot because in comparison, the entirety of like the Salem witchcraft trials was 25.
Yeah,
so
a bit of a number there.
Yeah,
bit of a number.
Oh, the carnage of the Salem witchcraft trials, which is known the world over, and then Ireland is like, hold my beer.
Yeah, as they do always with human suffering and death.
Yeah, right. So they fucking flexed on us and they won. +1 to Ireland on this one. And part of this cultural influence was led mostly by the Gaelic religion, and in Scotland especially, magical creatures like fairies were completely demonized as agents of misfortune, especially when it came to the early deaths of children, which, let's face it, was really fucking common in those times.
Yeah.
And they were just looking for something to blame other than the fact that you're poor and you're having too many children in the middle of a famine.
Yeah, and you like don't realize that clean water is like a necessity for a healthy life, and you don't bathe yourself, and you eat molded food. You know what I mean? Just like the things.
Doing the most, but also doing the least at the same
time.
time.
Absolutely, 1,000%. And what's kind of funny about like this sentence before about the fairies being demonized is like, I mean, yes, I do think cottagecore is bringing a revival to fairies in a positive light, but up until like I would say the last like 5-10 years where fairies are kind of becoming like, be kind to the fair folk and leave offerings and don't disturb and blah 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 blah. Before It was very much, as someone who grew up with like fairy tales, it was like, don't fuck with the fairies, like they are mischievous and mean and can hurt you or harm you. It was very much that, like, and there was no Tinkerbell in like the lore that I was fed as a child. It was like fairies were even scary looking.
Right, yeah, like creepy little demon things. They were like hippogriffs. Yeah. You have to come with respect or they'll fucking kill you.
Yeah.
And And also, when we say fairy in this context, we are specifically talking about how it was first introduced in the English language more than 700 years ago. And in this context, it essentially means otherworldly. So assign the fairy archetype that you prefer. But honestly, the way that the English described it, like the Old English, it was literally anything we can't explain, like elves, goblins, imps, demons, or any sort of catch-all word that you are comfortable with, be it poltergeist, ghosts, etc.
Sure.
And luckily for Irish women, the prevalent belief in fairies did protect most women from the accusations of witchcraft, which would lead to their deaths. And this is because when a misfortune happened to the people of Ireland, witches tended to be blamed instead of the fae folk. So if something bad happened, someone could be like, no, 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 the fairies did it. And then people would be like, oh, the fairies.
Yeah.
So it kind of saved them, also kind of fucked them in the end. But unlike the Salem witchcraft trials, which were massively commercialized and subjected to the Hollywood entertainment machine, the Irish belief in fairies has endured well into the century. I mean, we were both brought up where you don't fuck with fairies, and I'm sure we're not the only ones listening.
Yeah.
And in part, this happened because the Irish never really misaligned them with evil in the same way they did in Scotland. And what generally happens when a culture does a dramatic swing into public executions and accusations of things like witchcraft, the natural order is for the pendulum to swing the other way. So, for example, in the United States, we used to fucking fear witchcraft. There's the pendulum. And now we frame entire clothing lines around it. That's the upswing.
Fair read. Fair read.
Right. But in Ireland, this cultural shift never really fully took place. And since they were affected by the fallout of the European witchcraft trials, they kind of swung where they were less afraid of witches. But since their precious fairies and myths surrounded them during this time, that managed to endure well into this century, just because it was never really fully touched on.
I almost feel like fairies, fair folk, even like goblins and things of the forest, I would say, like there is something so embedded in like that culture with, you know what I mean? Whereas like, I don't know, witchcraft has such a tie to Christianity, which for like intensive purposes is fairly newish as far as, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like as far as the history of humanity, whereas like fairies and goblins and little mythical woodland creatures who are up to mischievous things are kind of tied into different cultures all around the world in different ways. And I think like the Irish and even the Scottish especially have ties to that as well. And there's something about it being so tied to like that culture that even a pendulum swing of society couldn't fully demonize it or remove it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Whereas we are a culture that just so happens to have a majority of Christians, it's almost like for us in the United States, religion is more of a frosting. But in these older cultures, like the Irish and the Scottish, their religion is more like a flower. It's embedded in. You can't fucking have the cake of Ireland without the flower of fairy lore mixed in to actually make the pastry.
Yeah, for sure.
And we've talked about we have talked about this subject a little bit before on the podcast, where fairies very well could exist in a similar tier to aliens, but on a different plane of reality. So where we may say UFOs are twinkling lights in the sky, that could also be like, what, fairies? Or what is Bigfoot if not a mythical agent of chaos who lives in the woods? Also sounds
Straight
like
up.
fairies to me.
Straight up.
Right? And this is completely off fucking topic, but I'm gonna say it again. This is the same tier that disclosure is going to go down of there is either a dimension or a wavelength of light that we don't see, and that's how they're gonna explain everything.
Is that's what you're betting on as far as like UFO disclosure? You think that's what it's gonna be?
Yeah, I think it's going to be so simply tied up in the fact that they're going to be like, it's a UV ray of light that doesn't register on our spectrum unless these parameters happen, and we don't know what those parameters are, but that's why there's unexplained phenomenon. And people would be like, oh, okay. They'll scientifically try to explain it away.
Oh, that's fair.
In my opinion. If that's wrong, then I'll just get drunk and buy more shit I don't need off the internet.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like what we were talking about last weekend, unrelated to the podcast, but related to the podcast, about the guy who says that he has like alien material embedded in him. And he's like, when I say, that I was abducted and aliens injected something in me and now I have this material inside of me, everyone just calls me crazy. But when I talk about it in a more scientific term of like, I have this anomaly under my skin which has not been identifiable by the current periodic table of metals that we have on record, and then people will listen and be like, oh, interesting, let's look into that. And it's the same exact thing, it's just how they're presenting the facts.
Exactly. Like, he presents it to a newsroom or media people and they're like, you're fucking nuts. But then he presents it to a doctor and the doctor's like, let's investigate this anomaly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly the way as you want to frame it. So anyway, just when we say fairies, think of that as you will. But there is a very popular rhyme for Irish children, which goes like this. Are you a witch or are you a fairy? Or are you the wife of Michael Cleary? And that's kind of what is leading us down the rabbit hole of this episode today. And I know what you're thinking, Noelle. Who the fuck is Michael Cleary? Who's his wife? And why are we talking about fairy rhymes?
That's exactly what I was going to ask.
I knew it. I fucking knew it. So let's get into it. In 1869, which I want to say is like relatively close to our timeline, even though it's like well over 100 years, but like that still feels modern to me.
Yeah, it's just a whisper away from the 1900s.
Yeah, like grandma's grandma was there.
Maybe.
I think. Math.
Maybe. Maybe grandma's grandma's grandma.
Sure. My grandma was merely a twinkle in utero at the time. Of her mother's utero. I don't know. But in 1869, in the southeast-ish area of Ireland, a girl named Bridget Boland was born to parents Pat Boland and Mary Kennedy. And there isn't much about Bridget's life until 18 years later, she met and married her husband, the actual topic of the children's rhyme, Michael Cleary.
Okay, with peace and love, that feels like such a read. It's like, there's nothing much about her life until she turned 18 and got married. And it's like, yeah, but also, this is 1869. What was anyone doing? You know what I mean? Like, she didn't have a live journal to fucking go off in. Like, come on. Yeah. She was probably lucky if she learned how to read. That's a rude-ass sentence. I bet she was doing wonderful things.
It is, and she was great. She was a fucking boss of the time.
Good.
Both of them worked and earned a proper and really respectable living. Bridget was primarily a dressmaker and Michael was a cooper. And if you're like me and you didn't know what a cooper was, it's a person who makes things out of wood, like barrels and buckets. It's different than a carpenter because they work with wood in such a way that they steam it and bend it into shapes. If that's wrong, I don't know what to tell you. I fucking Googled it. And that's the depth of my research on the topic of a cooper.
That seems reasonable. I believe you. I'm choosing to believe you.
I mean, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I've been known to be a cooper in my time bending woods.
Okay, well.
Can we take that out?
Nope.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry, everybody. This shitty attitude is why I lost the sticker war. The fact that haunts me even in my dreams.
Yeah, she still hasn't been able to sell them out yet.
I know. I stopped hitting up my friends and family, and then it just died. Yeah. So it's nice to know that my only supporters on the podcast are people that are related to me. Shout out to my sister Becca and my dad, who gave her $3, which went nowhere. Real MVPs there.
Oh my god!
Also, shout out to me and the sticker that I bought for myself. Woo!
The loss and pills, two things you can't swallow.
God damn it. You know what? Fuck you. I'm about to air your dirty laundry. You thought you wouldn't get sunburnt in California because you tanned yourself with fake tanner you bought off the internet. So fuck you, Noelle. We're almost even. I recognize I'm still losing. But may my bitterness help me along the way.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong on that. I'll let you have that because I will never forget this. We were in LA. They were having a bit of a soiree, a party, a get together, if you will. I don't like party because it wasn't loud. It was like adults drinking in a room together, essentially. And Kari's lovely partner, Nicholas, coach of the Golden Guardians League of Legends team. Shout out, let's go, GG, win. Hey, I see you. Let's get it.
Whoop,
Anyway, he had the audacity. He had the audacity, as I'm sore and sunburned at this party, to go, well, what did you think? You're not actually tan. You're tan from a bottle. And I have that. It has been almost 4 weeks now, and I live with that sentence every day. And I'm like, he's not wrong, but he sure isn't right. I can't.
No.
I couldn't believe the read. I was like, oh
he
my
got
God.
You in front of everyone.
In front of a crowd.
I mean, at least it isn't like a total public platform like this is, where anyone could access it at any time and then replay my embarrassment over and over and over again until I die.
That's true. That's true.
But,
I mean, yeah. Like I said, let it haunt you.
It does.
Anyway, back to being a Cooper.
So once the couple married, they moved in with Bridget's parents, and as far as what I could tell from research, this was mostly to help take care of her parents, and not so much that they needed financial assistance. And like I said, Bridget was like a fucking boss at the time. She managed chickens on her parents' estate and sold the eggs to her neighbors.
I would like to manage chickens.
Right, and then sell the eggs enough to have an affordable, a living. Living.
That's just what you did. That was your job full time.
Yeah.
And not like in a scary, sad factory farming way, as in like me and my 10 chickens live comfortably and well on a nice property. And every Sunday morning I wake up and sell the eggs to market.
Yeah, that's basically it. But being a woman of the times, being a woman ahead of the times, she wasn't really content with doing just that. So she used the money from the chickens to buy a sewing machine, which is like top of the line equipment at the fucking time. And she started raking it in as a hat maker and a dressmaker.
Hell yeah.
And just considering the fact that this was like the 1800s, it was very weird for a woman to not only be financially independent, but also to essentially be the breadwinner of the family. And she was also totally fucking literate, which was also unheard of for women.
Yes, literacy queen.
Yes, she was a triple threat. She made her own money, she was the breadwinner, and she could read. And she was so successful that even after her mother passed away, Bridget was able to not only care for her father, support her husband, but she was also able to help purchase the nicest house in the entire area.
Hashtag girl boss.
Right. I mean, the house, let's talk about the affordability of the house. We aren't too sure if the Clearys could afford it because Bridget was making a lot of money, or if they got a smoking deal because it was built over a fairy ring.
Okay.
And for those of you who don't know about fairy rings, they are circles of mushrooms which pop up randomly in the ground. They do occur naturally, and according to woodlandtrust.org.uk, they can be too small to notice, lots of teeny little adorable mushrooms, or they can span over 600 meters. If you're a dumb American like me, that math equals out to 1,968 feet in diameter. Okay. And we've all probably heard of the fairy lore when it comes to these rings, but again, from Woodland Trust, I just want to quote what they say specifically about it. In English and Celtic folklore, fairy rings were caused by fairies or elves dancing in a circle. It was said that if humans joined in the dance, they would be punished by the fairies and made to dance in the ring until they passed out from exhaustion. In German folklore, obviously it's going to be more sinister, fairy rings were actually known as witches' rings. And it was believed that they were placed where witches would dance, in a spring celebration taking place exactly 6 months before Halloween. In Austrian mythology, dragons were to blame for the appearance of fairy rings. It was said that they burned them into the forest floor with their fiery tails. And there are lots more mythical stories surrounding fairy rings. Some cultures believe that they are portals into another world, while others say the mushrooms are simply used as dinner tables for fairies. There is also the belief that they bring good luck and that they are a sign of a fairy village underground. Another folklore story is that you should never step into a fairy ring, as you may become invisible or trapped there forever. And I think the last one is the one that I'm most familiar with, that you just
that's
don't
the one.
step into one.
Yeah, I'm kind of familiar with that one. You don't step into it because you'll be taken to like a fairy realm.
Right. And if you like come across a fairy ring, you have to like circle it 9 times before progressing on your way. Should you like get the fairy scent of them to follow you home? But the stepping into it, I think, is like the most common thing we are all probably aware of when it comes to the fairy rings. And we've talked about what to do if trapped in the fairy world before, which is essentially bend over and look at the world through your legs. But let's dive into how you actually get into the fairy world. And I pulled this from Samantha Keimel's blog spot. There's a lot of different resources, but I tried to pick the smallest one. 5 ways a fairy can get your ass. 1, stepping into a fairy ring. 2, crossing a stream, river, or creek.
Oh my god.
3, following an albino animal into the woods.
That seems rude.
Not just Noelle's pale ass, but like an actual. Get married or give birth.
I mean, that sounds. Just don't stay away from those 2 things.
Yeah. Or following anyone wearing the color green.
Fair.
So, if you are in the fairy world because you're a dumb fuck who followed somebody who was wearing green in Ireland, here's what you can do to escape. Get some iron and start swinging. Fairies are very allergic to it. Like, if you swung a cat and me, like, I would also be gone.
Iron, yeah, because I have iron just hanging around in my backyard. Let me go pick it up.
Yeah. Also, don't eat or drink anything. Like Persephone, you're stuck there if you do.
That's how they'll get me. I love a snack.
Right? Like, if I'm outside, I'm hungry because I did effort in getting outside. So, yeah, me and Noelle are already fucked. If you make a promise, you have to keep it.
Okay.
You have to be witty.
Easy.
You have to follow the rules.
Hard.
If you are challenged to something, you have to take the challenge and then win.
Well, I'll try my hardest.
Some of the challenges aren't that bad. Like, one of them that I read was you have to ride a horse for 3 days straight. And don't get me wrong. In context, that would suck. But
did you say ride a horse?
Horse, yes.
Ride a horse for 3 days straight.
Yeah.
No, I'll stay in the fairy world. My pussy can't handle that.
In context, though, like if somebody was like, I will fucking kill you unless you stay up for 3 days and just sit on this horse, I'd be like,
I guess I die.
Should I have a will to live?
Yeah.
I would say
Problem number one. Number one. Have you ridden on a horse before? Your pubic bone will turn into sawdust. It will disintegrate. It will blow away.
Yeah, bish. I went on a date riding horses with that kid who got fucking gored through his shoulder that came out of his neck.
Oh yeah, the witchcraft. I forgot.
Yeah, the witchcraft. And then the final rule is remember your name, but don't tell it to anyone.
Oh,
like Rumpelstiltskin.
Yeah, or like Beetlejuice.
Yeah, it's and a lot of this stuff touches in other aspects of culture, like don't eat or drink anything. Fucking Persephone and Hades. Don't follow an albino animal.
Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah. Follow the rules. Mom and Dad.
They just put that one in there just because.
Yeah. Some mother inserted that like 300 years ago and it stuck. And before we really get into the consequences of what happens in the fairy world, let's talk about like how to know if you're close. So anytime that you feel like you're being watched in the woods, or you feel like you're having like a near out of body experience in the wild, it's a very good indication that you're elbow to elbow with the fae folk, or you're about to stumble upon one of the entrances into the fairy realm.
Every
Like a
time
fairy
I'm in
circle.
the woods, I feel like I'm being watched, but I don't know if that's paranoia or not.
Yes.
Yes to both. It's a fairy
Yes.
world paranoia.
Right, and they're all just watching you. And once a human accidentally goes into this other dimension, a lot of different things can happen to them, which we don't really understand because there's not much science on fairy dimensions.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. But it sounds a lot like what an abduction would be like. You exist in a world where time does not feel the same. You can feel like you've been there for an eternity while only being lost for a few minutes, or you can be in the fairy realm for an eternity, or like you could be in the fairy realm for a short time while an eternity passes in the human realm. So time definitely does not run linear from one dimension to the other. There's a lot of other things that say, like, if you step into the fairy realm, if only for a second, you can die early. Or if you've done anything bad, like stealing or killing someone, stepping into a fairy circle will cause you to just drop dead.
Love that.
And right. And if you get caught in the fairy world, there's not really any way to get out without a ton of intervention. You need someone to jailbreak you with iron. And even then, there's a lot of different rules. Like they have to wait a year and a day before they can even get you out. And then we wouldn't even know if you're stuck in the fairy realm for 60 years or if they break you out and you come out like a baby. But anyway you slice it, entering a portal to the other realm, you will lose your memory at best or die at worst.
Tough odds.
Yeah.
Tough odds there.
And there are strangely a lot of historical cases where people have formally documented someone being harmed by the fairy realm or coming in contact with the fairy realm. So again, this is where we come back to hero of the episode, infamous dressmaker, Bridget Cleary.
Let's go.
So Bridget and Michael, like we said, were not too remarkable of a couple.
Rude. She was literate. She was a boss babe. She owned multiple businesses. Entrepreneur.
Right. But as a couple, she was really carrying it all.
Yeah. I don't know Michael. Who is he? I don't care about him.
You can Google him. He looks fine. Photography did. It's weird that photography existed at this time that we're talking about. Let's get into it. And despite Bridget's success kind of causing some rumors around the couple, they were reported to be like really relatively happy and well adjusted for the time. The fact that Bridget could read really elevated them out of mere poverty and into more of an upper middle class society. They were very comfortable for the time, and they were kind of on the precipice of coming from the old ways of like the culture of Ireland, like much into the new century where it was like magic meets technology. They were very much caught in that world. And Bridget was really no different when it came to Irish superstitions at the time.
Can I also say real quick,
yes.
If you were to look up Bridget Cleary, if you're to look
like
her up,
clear with a Y.
Yeah, if you're to look her beautiful, if you're to look her up on Wikipedia, the picture that they have chosen to use for her is what I would describe as a child's MS Paint rendering in blue of a woman. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck?
Bedelia.
So silly. It is so fucking silly.
Why would they use that? There's actual photographs of her that exist.
Yeah, and they chose that one. Oh boy, I love that. Good. You know what? Hell yeah. Why not? Good for her. Love that. Beautiful.
Interesting. Yeah. Go to the Wikipedia. It's fun. And then like go to like actual Google image search and you will see her.
No, I'm only envisioning her as this children's
Blue
drawing of a like haunted woman in a manor. Like,
Yeah.
oh
No.
man,
I didn't look at the Wikipedia page. So
so
thank you for
silly.
bringing that to me.
Oh fuck. Anyway,
So little blue Bridget was also wrapped up in Irish superstitions. And on March 4th, 1865, she made a point to visit a fairy fort, which in very simple terms, just think of a grassy mound that people have assigned magic to. And this was really well within her routine of delivering eggs to her father's cousin Jack Doone, because he happened to live close to a fairy fort. And on this particular day, not too much is really known about what Bridget did or what her actual interactions were what the fairy fort were. But by the time she returned home, she had caught a chill, which caused her to stay the entire next day in bed, all while complaining about a terrible pain in her head. Some
okay,
may
so
say,
she got a migraine.
sure, or she just got cold and caught a cold.
Yeah,
We'll know.
that's fair. Yeah.
Jury's out. And Bridget's father and her husband were very concerned. Her elderly dad walked 4 miles in the middle of a rainstorm to go get a doctor who was pretty dismissive, surprise, surprise, of kind of what Bridget was going through. So he's like, I'll come tomorrow. Which he did, which was nice of him. But again, he kind of was just like, yeah, whatever. She just doesn't feel good. And he left. But Bridget's husband and her dad were very upset by kind of how Bridget was acting in her illness. She just wasn't really being herself. So they pleaded with the doctor again and again and again. And each time he was just like, he was just very dismissive. He either diagnosed her with nervous excitement, which I don't know what that is, and bronchitis.
Nervous excitement is like, I always think of right before you get on a roller coaster. You're like super excited, but you also might shit your pants, you know?
But is that diagnosable?
Yeah, I
Like, can I
think.
be diagnosed with an emotion?
Yeah. I know this about you. I know that right before every derby game you used to chug Pepto-Bismol because you would have shit your pants. That's nervous
Right.
excitement. I'm diagnosing you with nervous excitement.
Or is it my just gastrointestinal issues? You're right. It is nervous
Undiagnosed
excitement. Yeah.
undiagnosed IBS. We'll never know.
Yeah, we'll never know. I've begged a doctor to help me, and all they do is charge me a lot of money.
I don't even want to get into you and doctors right now.
Okay.
Anyway.
So as the days passed on, Michael was pretty doting on Bridget. It was really upsetting him how sick she was and like the suffering she was going through. But after a while, like the mere attention that Michael was giving to Bridget kind of started to turn in a sinister way because he was noticing that she was a changed person. For example, he thought she looked a little different, prettier than she had looked before.
Rude.
Right. But he also noticed that she was 2 inches taller.
See, this is where I'm like, no, he's just finally paying attention to her for the first time in their marriage for reals.
Maybe. I mean, they were happy before.
I mean, happy to who? Spoiler alert, she's not able to stick around and tell us for sure. So,
Sure.
That's all I'm saying.
So the fact that Bridget was appearing prettier and taller than before concerned Michael because it started to kind of creep into the back of his mind that maybe Bridget had been abducted by fairies and replaced with a changeling.
Reasonable. And she's the one who's crazy. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Checks out.
Well, I don't know. To be fair, this was accepted by the culture at the time.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I bet. If you just want a new wife, you just say that she's a changeling.
Right. And for those of you who are unaware, changelings are essentially human lookalikes. that fae folks swap into our realm for no real purpose other than to cause havoc. Most changelings are swapped in as babies so that humans can use our supple mammal milk to nurse the sick baby back to health. But in Bridget's case, they could be used to kind of swap in to try to get a changeling pregnant with a human baby. And if you're curious if you've ever met a changeling, you probably have, because the main characteristic of like a changeling child is they're shitty and sticky.
Yeah, just a baby. Any baby.
Yeah.
Shitty and stinky. That is for sure every baby I've ever met. So,
yeah, or any toddler or any spoiled child. If they're awful, they're probably a changeling.
Yeah.
So extremely distressed, Michael reached out to Jack Doon. And remember, this is the guy that has the fairy fort near his home that Bridget was bringing eggs to.
Mm-hmm.
And Jack told Michael that he needed to call a priest immediately. And so the priest did come, better than the doctor. And Michael was telling the priest, like, this is not my wife. She's been switched out with a changeling. But the priest kind of just took one look at her, performed Catholic last rites, and then fucked off. So again, Michael reached out to Jack Doon. And I'm going to slaughter this because it's Gaelic. But he was what is known as a Sion Chai, which does not sound Gaelic at all.
You fucked that up so bad.
Sounds like I'm trying to say like a seance and a chai latte in one word. But that's how it's spelled, bitch. So I'm doing my best. It's just a fucking way of saying that he was an expert in fairy mythology.
Mm-hmm.
And after speaking with Michael multiple times about Bridget's ailment, Jack was convinced that something more needed to be done, especially since a doctor and a priest had already visited, and Bridget did not get any better.
What is the needing to get better about her? The fact that she's taller and prettier? I just like, what are we trying to fix?
She's bedridden at this point.
Yeah, me fucking too, bitch.
Yeah, well, it kind of was like one of those self-fulfilling things where they were like, if she's sick, then a doctor will fix her. If she's possessed, then a priest will exorcise her. The fact that neither of that was done, it kind of proved to the two men that, okay, it's a changeling. They did their due diligence as far as they were concerned. And now it was on to the next step. So Michael was absolutely distressed and desperate. Like, he wanted to help Bridget get better. He was very concerned that she would be lost forever. And in fact, Jack took one look at Bridget and told Michael that this is not your wife. So following Jack's recommendation, Michael sought out a different kind of doctor who specialized in fairy illnesses. And they were pretty prevalent at the time. And he was instructed by this doctor to give Bridget a special concoction of cow milk, which he just had to find a cow who had just barely given birth and take the milk from that cow before the calf could, because this was supposedly the most nutrient-rich sustenance available.
Yeah, okay. You know, this is a gray area for me, but go off.
Right. And Bridget refused to drink the milk. Like, she wasn't feeling very well, but Michael took this refusal that it was partial proof that she was a changeling.
Love that. Yeah, she's just got a stomach ache, and the last thing she wants is to drink like room temperature milk in 95-degree weather while she sweats out a fever.
Yeah, bloody milk straight from the teat.
And she's like, "Oh, not today. Actually, I would rather vomit." And then he's like,
"Yeah, she wants tea and a nap." And they say, "No, sir." They didn't give her tea and a nap. They gave her buckets of urine, which they threw on her, and then they smeared her in chicken poop. Which, according to lore, would reveal a changeling. All it really did was kind of piss Bridget off.
Oh, no fucking shit. Also, where's the urine coming from? Are these two dudes just pissing in a bucket? What the fuck is going on here?
I want to tell you, Noelle, I tried really hard to see if it was human or animal urine, and I could not find the answer. So how dare you for asking me?
Either way, if it's animal or human, it's disgusting.
Yeah, it is. Also, like the dry, gritty chicken poop just being smeared all over her. Oh,
I just can't. I can't.
Um,
Honestly, what? It's fine,
yeah.
okay.
So what began happening is that rumors began to spread that a doctor was treating a changeling, trying to get the real Bridget back, and that there was no progress. So essentially,
I love that the rumor is, a demon possessed woman or what the fuck ever, fairy possessed woman, changeling woman, and not like husband and friend throw piss jugs on woman and cover her in shit. That's not the rumor. We're not talking about that. We're talking about how she's fucking been swapped out by fairies. Yep.
yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Well, I mean, if you're feeling sick and someone throws urine and chicken poop on you, that would get me out of bed. But the fact that it didn't get Bridget out of bed low key proved to the town that maybe she really was a changeling.
Yeah.
And also at the time, you were not allowed to be a pretty woman who could read and support her family without something sinister being the underlying reason for your success.
Yeah.
We saw it in the witchcraft trials. We see it with
Yeah.
promiscuous women now. I don't even want to say promiscuous. A woman who takes like her own body autonomy into account gets accused of being like what, a slut? Like
Mhm.
you cannot be a successful, happy, pretty woman
Yeah.
without society kind of shitting on you for it. You
Yeah,
can't just
she
even be a woman.
should have pretended like she couldn't read. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like she
She
should
should
have
have kept
dumbed
it in the
herself down
DL.
to fit
Yeah,
in.
yeah. Yeah, not
I
stress
don't
out
want to
the
victim
men.
blame, but Bridget,
Yeah. If
you
she was
should've-
really smart, she would have been playing that 4D chess, pretending like she couldn't read, meanwhile teaching the whole entire town of women how to read. That's that
right?
real shit.
It's like if I get a flat tire on the freeway, feminism, I don't know her. Someone else can change that.
Straight up. Oh my
Yeah,
god, I don't know how to change a
I
flat
know.
tire.
I'll
Yeah,
just start
right.
crying and say my dad's out of town.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true.
So, l- um, and obviously the rumors about the changeling Bridget reached Bridget's family, and they came to see for themselves. Specifically, Bridget's cousin, named Joanna Burke, popped in on the couple to see how they were doing. She was joined by two neighbors, and they kind of were just hanging outside the house, waiting
Yeah,
for someone to come to the door to update
gotta
them.
look. Yeah.
Yeah, but instead, what they heard was a bunch of men screaming at Bridget, calling her a bitch. The other F word, not fuck, but the other F word, you know what I mean.
It rhymes with hag.
Yes, but the longer version of it.
Haggette?
Yes.
Sounds like baguette.
Yeah, they were
They were
screaming
using that word then?
yeah.
Whoa.
And they were screaming at the changeling to get out or they would burn her to death.
Oh
So
god.
low key concerned, Joanne
Get
and the
very
neighbors, decided to just kind of let themselves in.
Yeah.
And they saw four different men, including Michael, holding Bridget down on the bed. And in the corner of the room stood Bridget's elderly father, who just kind of looked on in distress, more upset at the situation of the changeling and less upset at the treatment of his alleged daughter. I say alleged because we don't know if she was a changeling or not. Now, do we?
I mean, I feel like I have a fucking idea, but okay.
Yeah.
She just has the fucking flu and she's getting an exorcism. Yep.
Yeah. Or bronchitis or
Yeah,
tuberculosis,
bronchitis.
which were also prevalent at the time, or just a common
Yeah.
cold. You never know. She was out late, which was a death sentence in those days.
It's true.
But it really seemed like they were doing an exorcism on Bridget. They were throwing milk on her, forcing other liquids in her mouth, all while screaming at her like, "Away with you! Come back, Bridget!" Over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So, fed up with the lack of response from the alleged changeling, the four men scooped Bridget up and carried her into a kitchen, where a fire was illuminating the room in an eerie glow.
Ugh, the foreshadowing is too thick.
And looking down at Bridget, Michael asked her, "Are you Bridget Boland, wife of Michael Cleary, in the name of God?" And she responded, I am Bridget Boland, daughter of Patrick Boland, in the name of God. Michael hesitated for a moment, but he was pretty placated by that response, both because of what we talked about earlier. Like, fairies are very deceptive. They won't reveal their name. And the fact that Bridget was giving names and saying God kind of made him back off a little bit. So he did let them bring Bridget back into the room. And so at this point, someone, probably her family, did alert the police, but all they really did was come in and look through the window
of course.
Michael and Bridget.
They just took a little peek. They're like, there are people in there. We've done our job.
Yeah, and Bridget was like, hey, the cops are here. And then Michael threw his chamber pot on her, and then the cops fucked off. They're like, just a normal night. And then they went on to, like, chamber twirl their batons.
Is like the shitter, yeah?
Yeah, the chamber pot is their toilet.
Okay. He emptied his toilet on his wife, and the cops were just like, just another Tuesday evening. I don't know Irish accents.
And then they were like, and then they skipped off. Yeah.
they held hands and they skipped.
Yeah, and they were like, really, this is just a typical Tuesday. So Michael again insisted on the little mob that he had assembled to come back to his house. They forced Bridget to recite prayers. They forced holy water down her throat. And Bridget got, like, understandably pissy. And she turned to Michael and she said, like, your mother used to go with fairies, and that's why you think I'm going with them. And Michael asked her, did my mother tell you that? And Bridget confirmed she did, that she gave 2 nights with them. Which may seem relatively low-key, but Bridget's essentially like, you're fucking with me. Your mom's the one who used to be, like, knocking boots with the fairies every 2 nights or so.
Yeah. Good. Hey, Queen. This dude just dumped his toilet on you. Maybe don't call his mom a fairy whore.
She's like, yeah, your mama's a slut, and I am too. Is that
I don't fucking know what that even was, dude. I don't even know what that was.
I can do an Irish accent, but only when no one can hear me.
Yeah, me too. I can do every accent when no one can hear me.
So that for some reason that really pissed Michael off.
Yeah, she literally just called his mom a fairy whore.
Yeah. And so he took bread from the kitchen and he was like, tell me your name, and then eat a piece of bread. So Bridget would say her name, and then he would shove a massive piece of bread down her throat. When she got to the 3rd piece, she was like, can I just fucking have some water, please? You're throwing stale 1800s bread into my mouth, and it's like sucking the saliva out of my head. What she wanted was water. What ended up happening was this was the final confirmation that they really needed to know that Bridget was actually a changeling. Because she was unable to answer 3 consecutive questions given to her from these men.
Okay, here's the thing. I'm not trying to be victim blamey, but if I knew that this was how it was, like, first of all, I could read and I was hot, which meant, like, I was a fucking witch and people would blame me for their shitty babies dying. But also, if my husband was beating my ass because he thought I was a fucking fairy and I knew that, like, part of the fairy code was reciting 3 questions in a row, I'd be like, rattle them off, baby. Rattle them fucking off. Yeah. Let's play Jeopardy. I'm taking the entire column with a full fucking sweep. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel you. It's like, it's a fine line of, like, not being victim blamey, but if someone has a gun in my face and they're like, give me the wallet, I'm like,
yeah,
you take the whole purse, sir.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying. I'm just like, it would have been such a cooler story if she was like, yeah, this, that, and this, and this, and this, and that, and this, and I've just answered 10 questions in a row, and now you're a fucking asshole, and I'm gonna kill you. You know what I mean?
It would have been the coolest if 2, like, scrawny little hands came out from her mouth, and, like, one gripped her lower jaw, and then one gripped her upper jaw, and then they peeled her like a fucking orange in half, and then, like, an actual fairy came out.
Yeah, and it ate the entire community. It ate the village. That would have been a
they
cooler
thought could have
story.
happened.
I wish it would have.
What really happened was everybody was like, fuck, Bridget's gone, and now we need to destroy the monstrosity that took her place.
The monstrosity, the tall, hot girl. Yeah.
Fucking
love it.
A threat to mankind everywhere.
Yeah, it's true.
So according to the history collection, Michael Cleary then lost control.
Oh, that's when he did it, not when he tried to choke her out with bread or throw his shit pot on her or throw piss on her. You know, none of that. Well, this was it.
Yeah. He was fully in control this whole time, except for at this point.
Yeah, this was what it left. Okay, yeah, got it.
Yeah. He tore off Bridget's clothes, only leaving her in her chemise. I don't know what that is.
Chemise.
A smile? A chemise? What is that?
Like a little underdress.
I'm gonna go. Oh, like a slip?
Yeah.
How do you know that? Oh, I see. How do you know that? I'm usually helping you pronounce things.
Because I'm not uncultured swine like you.
Are you? I've never had a need for a chemise.
Chemise.
Chemise. Isn't that Anakin's mom's name?
Girl, you're so fucking white trash. You take your crick. You go take your fucking crick and your mountain, and you take your what did you call it? Shiny, and you go fuck off. You go fuck off.
You pronounce it like Anakin's mom. It's just like Shimmy. Shimmy Skywalker. She's Panty Skywalker.
God, you're so trash. You're trash. You're trash.
All right. Jesus. Okay, so he tore down to her chemise.
Still not right.
I have such a cognitive block for that stupid fucking word. Just say her slip or her nightgown or her underwear.
Oh man.
I'm so full of busy that I'm about to pee my pants and I keep laughing. All right. So as he brandished a brand from the fire in his wife's face, his guests tried to flee.
Oh, now they're like, oh, we were here for this shit and piss throwing.
They saw her undergarments and they got offended.
Out. Now we're out.
Uh-huh.
It's all fun and games until we really start fucking abusing people, huh?
So instead of letting them go, Cleary threatened them and locked the door.
Yes.
Yeah, so frightened, the company sought refuge in the bedroom. There, they heard Bridget scream, "Give me a chance!" before her head struck the floor.
Oh,
there was another
lovely.
scream.
Yeah.
William Kennedy gathered enough courage, to investigate, and he quickly returned. Yeah.
But not anything, not to prevent. No. Yeah. An entire mob of people could not take down one man. No.
Yeah.
Yet they cower in the bedroom.
So William quickly returned. William's her brother, by the way. In case you were wondering. And he quickly returned and said, "Bridgie is burned," he said. And whether by accident or design, Cleary had set his wife's chemise alight. It's ruining the mood. I'm gonna start this sentence over. Whether by accident or design, Cleary had set his wife's nightgown alight.
There you go.
He then poured paraffin over Bridget's body, sat in a chair, and watched her burn.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So, and she's the one who's fucking crazy, yeah? She's the one who's possessed by fucking fairies. Not this piece of shit. Love that. Great.
Well,
perfect story.
This next part did fuck with me a little bit. As Bridget screamed and writhed around, the terrified crowd gagged on the smell of Bridget's burned flesh, and Michael repeated himself again and again that he had destroyed the changeling. Here's the part where it's real creepy. All the while, the simmering and charred body of Bridget had strangely curled up backwards like a dead spider would.
I'm not trying to say like that shouldn't be creepy to you, but it should be creepy in the way of like, hey, this is what happens when a human is burned the fuck alive. You know what I mean? It's
Maybe.
not like, yes, no, maybe, bitch. It's not like, oh, we just killed a dead spider. It's like, you're shriveling up and withering
But
in pain.
the weird thing is she's face down. Her legs bend up backwards and her arms bend up backwards away from her face. That's what's
All I'm
creepy.
saying is, have
Imagine
you ever burned alive? I
I'm
don't think.
I'm not saying that this isn't what happens to burned bodies. I'm saying that's a creepy fucking image.
Yeah, I hope it haunted everyone for the rest of their
Well,
lives. I
it
hope
really
that
didn't.
none of them didn't get a single good night of sleep for the rest of their lives.
Well, I mean, they thought they killed a changeling, so they were probably fine.
Yeah.
But terrified of like how her body had contorted, the group wrapped the corpse in a sheet and disposed of it in a shallow grave, where it was discovered by a group of constables only a few days later. And strangely enough, the face was completely untouched and intact, leading the police to quickly identify the body of Bridget Cleary.
Just back in the day when you can just murder someone and get away with it by throwing a few pebbles over a body.
Yeah. Well, it did go to court, and once it went to court, there was a surprising lack of punishment for those involved because
Yeah,
the
no
court
shit.
accepted the story that Bridget was a changeling. Maybe not in the legal sense of like the judge believed it, but they believed that Michael believed it.
Well, that doesn't. Who the fuck? Okay, who cares? So
Yeah.
the point of
So
that what?
he was only sentenced to manslaughter, and he
Uh-huh.
only served 15 years, and everybody else involved was completely acquitted. Um, and part of this is just how indoctrinated that socioeconomic class was to fairy lore at the time. And again, from the history collection, quote, perhaps lack of sleep clouded Cleary's judgment. However, there are signs his marriage was in trouble.
As always
Obviously.
fucking is. As always fucking is. No, no one, no, here's the thing. No one has ever looked at a couple where something happened or someone died or whatever and been like they were happily married. No, that's not real. That's like people who are like, and Ted Bundy was my neighbor and he was a nice guy. No, you're just oblivious. Like that girl, of course, of
Right.
fucking
Yeah.
course, of fucking course. I'm telling you,
But
yeah, changeling my ass. More like
well,
the only thing he was trying to do is like change whose mouth he was putting his dick in. Like that's the only fucking thing. Ugh, I can't every
well,
fucking time.
so this yeah, the signs. So here's some of the signs that the marriage was in trouble. First, the insane level of violence that clearly used against Bridget.
Yeah,
Uh,
no shit.
well, yeah. And then there was the testimony of Bridget herself. When she was ill, Bridget had told her aunt that Cleary had been trying to make a fairy of her for months. And she also claimed that he thought to burn me about 3 months ago. And after the burning, Cleary disappeared for 3 days, supposedly waiting for the real Bridget to reappear out of Elena Granach Hill. That's a Gaelic word. Nailed it. However, this was not his first impulse after his wife's death. For initially, Cleary talked of feigning madness, fleeing to America, or killing himself.
Wish you would have, bitch. Wish you
Yeah.
fucking would have.
So, really, this suggests that Michael Cleary did not believe he had a changeling bride. He merely hoped by claiming he had one, he would be absolved of murder.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
Noelle, I found a quiz.
Okay.
The C, if you are a changeling,
Oh, you're gonna make me take it? Okay.
and I'm going to make you take it.
Hey
So,
guys, so obviously obviously this is a quiz to see if you're a changeling. I haven't made a quiz in a while, so I'm trying to get back into it. Forgive me, I'm a little rusty.
no. I'm going to give you. Well, okay, so should we each take the quiz and then we'll say like what we get if we're a changeling or not? We don't have to say our answers. So, like, for example, question number 2, do you fit in with other people?
Okay, well, no. Okay, you give me the quiz. I'll give you the answers.
Sure. So, Noelle, do you fit in with other people? Yeah,
No.
sure. No. Okay, definitely don't fit. How well can you lie?
Not well, actually.
God. What kind of music do you listen to?
What are the options?
Strange things. Classical and other.
What about all of those? Say other than all of those things.
Okay. How do you feel about death, blood, gore?
I mean, you know, I enjoy it. I understand its prevalence in society. It's a necessary evil. It's one of the few things guaranteed in life.
Do you like being outside?
No.
Do you get the feeling you're adopted? Don't fit in with your family? Don't look like them or think like them?
I want to say in my heart, I want to say yes, but it's the unfortunate truth that I am my mother's child.
Sure. How would you describe your style? Do you want me to read the options here?
Give me the options.
Messy hair, no shoes. Casual. And anything I can move in. All three, I would say, sound rather casual.
All three. We'll go with anything I can move in. Comfort is above all for me.
Got it. What kind of things do you like to do in your spare time?
Sleep an option.
No.
What are the options?
Spend time outside.
No.
Sing, dance, paint, write, draw, read.
Read is the only thing I.
Or that's one. That's a group of one option, and the third option is play video games / hang out with friends.
Do that one. Let's do that one.
What genre do you like?
Out of what? In what?
Romance / comedy, fantasy / sci-fi, or horror / action.
Horror / action.
Do you have mood swings?
Yes.
Do you often feel depressed or anxious?
Yes.
Do you get overly excited or too happy?
No.
Do strange things happen around you?
I am the strange thing. Actually, if I'm being honest with myself, and this is probably why I know I'm not a changeling, because A, I hate the outside, and B, nothing strange. I wish the strange would happen.
Yeah.
I beg for the strange, and yet nothing it is. I am the most unhaunted person in America.
Got it. Me too. Do people tell you that you have an artistic talent of painting, drawing, writing, singing, or dancing?
No one has ever said I'm talented.
Okay. So this last one only has two options. One's a happy face and one's a sad face.
Sad face.
A changeling is a fae who is left behind in place of a mortal child. Fairies will steal human children and leave behind a glamored fairy child made to look like a baby in their face. Sometimes the fairy gets sick and dies, other times it grows up believing it is mortal. But all changelings return to fairyland eventually. It's in their blood. Visit Wikipedia, more about changelings.
So am I a changeling?
Well, is your answer to that question a happy face or a sad face?
Sad face.
Submitting answers. Hey, here we go.
You're
Probably not a changeling.
Yeah, no shit. I knew it.
But it was a very sad picture of a girl. Looks like she's crying in space. And if that's not you, I don't know what is. I'm sending you the photo.
That is me. Oh, yeah.
But if you think that this person made a mistake, you can take her other quiz, which is which mythical creature are you? And then in parentheses it says dark.
Okay, yeah. I have a feeling that she's nailed me. I know this. I know that I'm not a changeling because I would rather staple my butt cheeks to the floor than go outside, and I am the most unhaunted, nothing mystical happening around me. There's nothing enchanting about my life. I exist, and that's about it. And no one has said I'm talented. No one has said I'm good at drawing, dancing, or singing.
Well, you are a regular human then. Sorry to say.
I hate to say it. Hey, Bessie, I'm afraid to tell you this.
So there you go.
We
Not a
learned so
changeling.
much. We learned so much based off of those questions and answers. I think, Chelsea, I don't think you're a changeling either.
You know, I don't know. I feel like the happy face, sad face question, I don't know how to interpret that. The one where it was like, say your style, and it was casual, or casual.
These are the trick questions only a changeling would understand.
And I'm clicking on like the other one that she did, and it was like, what do you like to eat? And it said, meat. I love meat. And I'm more thirsty than hungry, or anything sweet. So
vegans not allowed here. No vegans here.
Yeah.
Not even an option on the board.
Yeah. What do you like doing in your spare time? Swimming, singing or dancing, or stealing.
Stealing.
Okay. I'll do
those are the three genders.
That's exactly it.
Oh boy.
My god, this one's a long ass quote. I don't even want to read it.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you right now, Chelsea, you are not a changeling. I hate to be the bear.
No,
I hate to be the grizzly bear of bad news.
I'm doing the one to find out, like, not
you're
happy with this quiz.
You're a goblin.
Yeah. I hope so.
You,
I kind of want to be a unicorn.
No.
What other people think of me? Everyone loves me.
You are not a unicorn. You wish that you were a unicorn, and that's how I know that you're a goblin.
What could I live without? Food. Or what can I not live without? Swimming. I love water and drinking it. My friends and music. Happy face. So I'm going to say water for actual sustenance. Color. Blue, red, any bright color, or other.
Other.
Good or evil?
Evil.
Good! I'm not a bad witch. I'm a good witch. Do you believe in fairyland? Sure.
Fairyland. It's right next to Disneyland.
And then the last question, it says, hope you like my quiz. And then the answers are solitary, seelie, unseelie, or human.
Sealy.
Okay. Oh, okay, guys. Bye. I can do heart, sad face, or happy face with eyebrows.
Happy face with eyebrows.
Okay, let's see what I am. I am a changeling.
Oh, how the mighty have fallen.
Jeez, I feel like I picked the most mediocre things. Like, what can I not live without? Water. And there you go.
Wrong.
Yeah. I have an unwavering appetite and an overwhelming emptiness inside. That is accurate.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not wrong. Not 100% right, but not 100% wrong.
Yeah.
And for that, I say, hey, if your husband is throwing gallons of piss at you and covering you in shit, light him on fire before he can light you.
Mm-hmm. You gotta get got before you get got.
Yep. Yes,
like
sir.
we always say.
Yes, fucking sir. And like I always say, I might not be a changeling, but I will always say, Hail Satan.
I'm just gonna say, Hail fairies. And all of the problems that they do not bring to us. Thank you.